Greetings, Sean again. It's been a busy week here at school as we've completed our courses for the year and initiated all the kind of end of the year stuff. It's also been a historic week in regard to the movement for racial equality that's emerging, well, all over the world, really. And I've been thinking this week about the complexity of social change and of work for social justice. And I think that complexity comes in part because we're complex. As human beings, we're complex, and the systems that we all would like to see changed are complex systems, and we're all kind of intertwined and part of those systems. So as I've been thinking about this little talk today, I'm never sure where my mind will go, but I've been thinking about a friend of mine from my old days in Chicago, a man named Carl Meyer, who was an activist for nuclear disarmament, which was the big issue of the time. So he, whenever he could, he spoke about nonviolence and the evils of nuclear arms. And Carl was a responsible person, so he paid his taxes like everyone does. But one day he realized that if he's against the militarization of governments, and part of his tax money goes to support the military and to support nuclear armaments, then maybe he was a hypocrite. And he decided that he should do something about it, and hence began a struggle that he had with the U.S. Internal Revenue Service that lasted for decades. And it was a complex struggle. Some years he would pay his taxes, some year he would pay no taxes, and some years he would pay part of his taxes. He spent some time in jail. He had to work out a job where the government couldn't garnish his wages. It was a very complex kind of project for him. And Carl often said, it's easy to talk about your commitment to principles of justice, but it's very hard sometimes to live them out. So I talk about Carl not because I'm suggesting that people not pay their taxes. I'm definitely not suggesting that. But just to give an example of how complex it can be when we try to live with integrity, which really means living closely according to our own principles and beliefs. Carl also used to say that we cannot promote justice, nonviolence, social change without expressing those things in our own lives. In fact, Carl would say that the only effective way to change the world is to live according to the principles that we want to see lived out in society. So, if we claim to have a commitment to respect for each person and for the dignity of each individual, but then bully or demean people who don't agree completely with the way we see things, really what we're doing is sullying the very principles that we claim to believe in. And very unfortunately, we're seeing a bit too much of that these days as people are becoming aware of these justice issues. And it's not really surprising because we're all human, we all have egos to deal with, and we all have the tendency to point our fingers at other people when we see things that aren't the way that we think they should be. So really all we can do, as I've often said, there's only one thing we can change, and that's of course ourselves. The only things we can change are our behavior and our words. And as Carl would say, that's the most important and probably the most difficult work that we can engage in. We all have heard this quote from Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world, which is actually not what Gandhi said. That's a simplification of a longer quote, which I'm going to share with you. Gandhi said, "We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our own bodies. If we could change ourselves, the tendency in the world would also change. As a person changes their own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards them." Gandhi says, "This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do." So activism is not a simple thing. It's a life task, and I would say that the majority of the work of a true activist is internal work. It's work of changing ourselves. because when we change, the world around us changes. So be patient. Just because we're becoming aware of social injustice, it doesn't mean that the problems are going to be solved overnight. Be patient with yourself, be patient with others, and most important of all, practice what you preach. As Dr. King says, darkness cannot be overcome with darkness, only by light. And hate can never be overcome with hate, but only with love. So, have a wonderful week. Go with God's blessing.
Good morning, Shawnigan, and happy Pride Week. This morning's music presentation is a reimagined cover of the Guns N' Roses song, Sweet Child of Mine, brought to you by Izzy.
She's got a smile, it seems to me, reminds me of childhood memories, where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky. Now and then when I see her face, she takes me away to that special place, and if I stare too long, I'd probably break down and cry. Oh, sweet child of mine. Oh, sweet love of mine. She's got eyes of the bluest skies, as if I thought of rain. I hate to look into those eyes and see an ounce of pain. Her hair reminds me of a warm, safe place where as a child I'd hide and pray for the thunder and the rain to quietly pass me by. Whoa, sweet child of mine. Oh, sweet love of mine. Oh, sweet child of mine. Oh, sweet love of mine. Where do we go? Where do we go now? Where do we go? Oh, where do we go now? Where do we go? Oh, where do we go now? Where do we go now? Where do we go now? Where do we go? Where do we go now?
Kaye and Ripley's, please stand.
When Santa asked me to prepare a little speech on what Kaye's meant to me for a virtual house chapel, I honestly really struggled. It's hard to pinpoint one message through the 4 years that I've spent in the house. However, what I can tell you and what I can talk about is how I'm feeling. Being away from the house and more of the girls and community that make up Kaye's is a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. But what makes me feel better is knowing that I don't have to completely let go. For a lot of people, high school is short term. They go through the moments and then move on to the next phase of their life. Kaye's has provided me with something completely unique and outside the normal. I've met some of the most influential people in my life and made some of my closest friends because of the house. The best part of this being that I know I will always have a way to connect and stay in contact with these wonderful girls. Kaye's has a way of bringing you back, of reminding you of the moments and people that put a smile on your face. I will always be grateful for what Kaye's has given me, and I hope that all the juniors and Kaye's girls to come take advantage, because I believe there's truly no place in the world that fosters the same feeling as that house. I would like to say thank you to everyone who makes my home what it is. To the grade 12s. I know this isn't the ending we wanted, but I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to spend my high school career with. To Monty and Plater, thank you for always keeping us on track and always being there for us. And to our duty staff. If it wasn't for all of you, our house simply wouldn't function. We appreciate all that you do, and it definitely doesn't go unnoticed. In closing, Kaye's to me is a community, the best and most loving one I've ever been a part of.
Hello! So I would just like to address something really quickly before I start my speech formally. I, Michaela Brennan, am the only true 5-year in Kaye's house. Alexandra Wallace may deny this because she came halfway through grade 8, which technically makes her a 5-year, but my rebuttal is you never had to experience the Kaye's house rendition of its time in 2015. So you are unable to fall into the category of a true Kaye's house 5-year. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I can get on to some of the good stuff. So I have so many memories that I would love to share with you all. I could talk about how much Kaye's means to me, and I could speak on how our motto reflects how we are united as a house. But instead, I would just like to say a couple of things I want all the Kaye's girls to know. My dearest crazy family, I am so heartbroken that our year got cut short, because it felt like it had only just begun. Even though we ran Lynn out of the house with how disgusting we would always leave the kitchen, I know that if we would have come back, we would have made that kitchen shine like the top of the Chrysler Building. Also, although I believe we were either in 4th or 5th for house points, I know we were going to pull ahead in these last couple of months and win that house cup. And I know that right now is when the hardworking, amazing, wonderful Kaye's 12s would be starting to hand the reins over to a completely capable group of Kaye's 11s. It's sad to know that I'll never actually be able to experience these things, but I know the legacy of Kaye's house is in good hands. To the 12s, I can't really get into it right now because I decided I didn't want to cry in this video, but I will talk to you guys later. To the 11s, do not let the grade 10s push you around next year. To the grade 10s, never listen to the grade 11s. To the grade 9s, just keep acting like you own the house. To the girls in Stanton who will be joining Kaye's next year, you are my last hope. Do not let me down. And to the little house on top of the hill, I love you, and you will forever be my home. Thank you.